Hello, you lovely people, and welcome to another enlightening episode of Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host, Rajni Bharara, and I'm thrilled to have you all join us today. Well, before I go ahead, I would like to read this important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Well, after this important disclaimer, I hope you all are having a great Friday. To make it even better, I'm here with this amazing live session. So, before we dive into today's discussion, I want to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you. Your presence here today is greatly appreciated as we embark on a journey to unlocking success, mastering the B2 visa process with an ex-US visa consular officer. And now, without any further ado, let's give her a grand welcome. Yes, she is a distinguished guest for today's episode. She is a seasoned professional, a former US visa consular officer, and a beacon of knowledge in the realm of visa processes. So, everyone, please join me in welcoming the expert and, like I said, the beacon of knowledge, none other than Yvette Bansal herself. Yvette, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure having you. And Yvette, like I said, always a pleasure having you. And thank you so much for gracing our platform with your expertise. Now, everyone whoever is watching us from different platforms, I would like to tell you that this session is being streamed live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and the handle is Immigration Talk Show, and also on Twitter. And the handle is Immigration Talk Show. So don't forget to subscribe to us. And if you have any questions, to Yvette, wherever you're watching it from, we will be glad to answer them so you can post them. So, Yvette, okay, so my team is telling Rajni, not just YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, but also you have to mention Twitter and Instagram. So there you have it. We are also available on Twitter and Instagram. So if you are, scrolling reels on Insta, or if you're tweeting something on Twitter, so you can also follow us and, watch this episode live. And now, Yvette, without any further ado, let's delve into today's topic. But let's take a moment. Let's recap the last episode because the last episode was about B1 visa. So, you and Nipasa, you had a great discussion where you discussed the intricacies of B1 visa. So, if you can please give a small recap, a brief recap to our lovely viewers, who were not able to join in the last episode.
So, if you want to check out the last episode, you can go to my YouTube channel or Immigration Talk Show and watch the entire episode in which we broke down the B1 out of the B1 B2 visa for work travel. So, if you're going for conferences, work meetings, how to pass the visa interview, what documents you need to have, what the officer is looking for, what's permitted under that B1 classification. So, we specifically talked about the
Mhm.
permissible business activities under the B1, B2 category.
Lovely, amazing. And now today we are excited about, you telling us a lot about B2 visa. So,
hmm
if we can please have our first question on the screen, please, because that the first question is the most important question. So the first question that we have is about what B2 visa is. I mean, B1 visa is, if you can also differentiate between B1 and B2, Yvette, and if you can talk about what is the purpose of B2 visa, and like I said, the difference between B1 and B2 and a B2 visa.
There are a lot of people who get a little confused about this. So B2 is for tourism and B1 is for business related activities, but 99% of the time they're given together. So when you have a B1, B2 visa, if you apply for a B1 or you apply for B2, you will get a visa foil that says B1, B2. That means that you can go to a conference, to a training, all those business related activities, not work. You cannot work on a B1, B2, but things that are associated with work, meeting stakeholders, finishing up some agreement, going to a conference, maybe giving a training or taking a training. So all those are permissible under B1. And under B2, you can do tourist activities, maybe go to Las Vegas, um, go to family functions and other permissible activities under the B2 category. So they're given together as a B1, B2 visa, whether you're just simply seeking to go for tourism or you're going for business related conferences and meetings. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. Thank you so much for explaining it, Yvette. And people have started posting their questions. I mean, Shahrukh is here from YouTube, and he has already posted a question for you. Hi, Shahrukh. And
Yeah.
well, we definitely would be taking these questions. Neela is also here. Hi, Neela, and thank you so much, guys, for posting your questions. We definitely will be taking them and asking them from Yvette. But before we take, okay, I think my team has already, because they always want to give importance to the viewers. So they have already posted the question for you. So Shahrukh says, is it possible to convert a B1/B2 visa into another type of visa while in the US? What do you have to say?
So it is possible. It would require a change of status with USCIS, and that's an entirely separate process that you're able to do in the United States.
Oh, okay. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple, small and simple answer. So, Shahrukh, I hope you have got the answer for your question. And now, let's take up. Shall we take another viewer question, or shall we delve into the topic questions? Whatever you suggest.
Rajni, your wish, your wish.
Oh, well, okay. So, okay, Irfan, since Irfan Yaqub has posted a question on YouTube, and like I say, my team always gives importance to our lovely viewers. So, the question from Irfan is about, what do a visa officer see on their screen? Do they have access to our taxpayer identification number? Second question is, what is the most important sections on DS 160 that visa officer pay attention the most?
Okay. So the visa officer is reviewing your DS 160. That
Mhm.
is the visa application that you're mentioning, and you're rightly asking what the most important sections are because that's the only thing that they're looking at, unless you are an H-1B or an F-1, then maybe they're looking at your I-20 or some petition. However,
Mhm.
for the B1, B2 visa, they're looking at that DS 160. They are looking at your work history on that DS 160, your education, your income, who you're visiting, prior travel. All those are really important sections on the DS 160. So those are something that I'm going to highlight in response to what the most important sections are. On my website, udativisa.com, I have a blog called DS 160, your gateway to the visa, but it's a DS 160 blog. It'll talk about common mistakes applicants make on the DS 160, including if they have prior refusal, they'll write really long notes. They'll have grammatical errors. They're not writing job duties as succinctly. So all that is covered in the blog. So if you're really interested in the DS 160, you can go check out that blog. The consular officers do not have access to your taxpayer identification number. That's why the interview and preparing for the interview is so important because that verbal exchange between the two of you and the DS 160 are the most important things in them making a decision. And I think I've answered all of those questions. So thank you for taking the time to ask.
Thank you so much, Irfan. I hope you've got your answer. And we are receiving too many questions. So Bhavani is here, then Peter Khan is here, such a unique name. And then we have, okay, so people are also posting on your channel. They're watching it on your channel. Yvette, so I will be
Yeah.
taking one from there, and
Okay.
here it is. It's Yarn Ayumite. I hope I'm taking the name right. And the person says, if I am asked what is the purpose of your visit to the US, do I just say for vacation purposes, or I have to emphasize? What do you have to say?
So the reason of travel is very important. It has to be an authentic reason of travel. So the most compelling interviews have a compelling reason for why you want to go to the United States. It could just be for a holiday, but it also has to make sense with your lifestyle. Maybe you've taken other holidays before. A big mistake that people make is that they have family in the United States. Maybe they're not mentioning that on their DS 160 or during the interview. But for a lot of people, mentioning that could offer the officer a compelling reason. So it really depends on you and your profile, how you're approaching that visa interview. But the most compelling reason is a truthful one and one that makes sense to the consular officer. For example, a common mistake is saying, I want to go for 1 week. And then you say, I want to go for 1 week and visit New York and Miami and Washington, D.C. And that sequence of travel may not make sense for the consular officer. So there's not just one thing that you say, it has to fit your profile and it has to be a compelling and truthful reason for why you want to go to the United States.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your answer, Yvette. And, um, you know, Okay, so I hope this amazing person who has posted this question. I hope you have got your answer. Thank you so much for posting your question. And people looks like people really don't want me to ask my own questions. You know, the questions that I've prepared for you, they don't want me to ask my questions, but they because they are posting on Facebook, YouTube, and then okay, let me take one more because they are really excited to get an answer from you. So this person has posted on UDETI visa and wants to know, Serif Aslan wants to know, do officers see Russia as a part of European continent? I'm an Indian. Plus, and how to explain things to officer when they oftentimes cut you off before finishing a sentence to explain your situation. Well,
Okay. So sometimes a common mistake applicants make is that they memorize an answer and the answer is not necessarily what the officer is asking or what the officer is looking for. So make sure that your answer is hitting what the officer is looking for. It's a personal answer. If they ask you, why do you want to go to the US, and you say, well, the US is my dream, I want to go to Niagara Falls, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you're talking about the US extensively, they're not really getting a sense of your personality, your background, your motivation. Maybe you're talking about something that they no longer want to hear about, so they might cut you off. That could be one thing. um, Officers see Russia as Russia. They don't really see it as part of European countries. They may ask you what you did in Russia, just like they may ask you what you did in Italy. Any travel that you're putting on the DS 160 is an open invitation for the consular officer to be curious about what you did in that country. I hope that answers your question.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yvette, and thank you so much, Aslan, for your question. I hope you have got your answer. And if you have any follow up question, well, you are more than welcome to post it. But right now, I would like to give a break to the viewer questions because I am really very excited to ask my next question because this is also very
Sure.
important. People, the questions that I'm
Mm.
asking are also very important. So the next question that I have for you is about, if you can please explain the application process for obtaining B2 visa.
The so it's fairly simple. You go on ustraveldocs.com and you start the application process, which is called a DS-160. You fill out basic information, you pay for your fee, you go for your biometrics and your visa interview. It's all really simple and laid out online on ustraveldocs.gov. They also have a frequently asked questions button. There's some steps in between, some required documents, couple of pictures, but essentially that is the process. Go online, fill out the DS-160, um, pay your fees, show up to your biometrics. For some countries, it's in the same place as your visa appointment. In India, for example, they're in two different locations, so you may need to schedule two different appointments. And you take that fee receipt that you paid the $185 for your B1, B2 visa with you when you go to the embassy or consulate. On the DS-160, it also has rules, what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't do, what to bring, what not to bring. It's a really
Mhm.
fairly straightforward process. Should be pretty simple in terms of the logistics of it, in terms of what you put on there and the the mystery surrounding the interview. That's a totally different ball game, and that's why we're here, right?
Uh-huh. Okay. So before we unravel that mystery, I would like to know from you. Okay, so since you have mentioned, there are things that you are allowed to bring and not bring. So if you can please elaborate on that.
So, for example, on the DS-160, it would probably say electronics are not allowed at the embassy or consulate. So
Mhm.
things like that. So you just want to be able to read the rules for your particular embassy or consulate and follow those rules. Rajni, you are lagging a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure why is this happening. Can you see me fine now?
I do see you, but I think it's a little bit lagging. Maybe we can get some help from IT.
Okay, I hope this is better.
Okay, yeah, now you're good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people have joined us. So is it because of that? I'm not sure. But yeah, now that you're able to see me fine, please continue.
Yes, so on the DS-160, it'll give all the rules, one of which is don't bring electronics to the embassy or consulate. So just minor rules like that. And so it will depend on the embassy or consulate what you can and can't do. It may tell you you're not allowed to bring anybody else with you that does not have an appointment letter. It'll say you need to bring your appointment letter with you. It may say you need to bring your passport with you. So it just has some guidelines to follow for the day of the interview.
Okay, okay. All right. So thank you so much for answering the question, Yvette. Now I think let's
Sure.
take a viewer question, or else they are going to be upset. They're going to get upset, and I don't want to do that because otherwise my team is going to, all right. So now Irfan, I think, is back again with another question. I think we already have taken this. Okay. Okay, here. Irfan says, I'm a college student in Thailand, 22 years old. Can I have my dad as a sponsor for my B2 visa? I haven't earned money yet, have traveled around Southeast Asia. What do you have to say?
I mean, the short answer is yes. Anybody can go for the B1, B2 visa. They can say, my dad is sponsoring me. He happens to make enough so that he's sponsoring me to take this holiday, this vacation. But make sure that when you're with talking to the consular officer that you have a solid plan. I know you're 22 years old. You're like, I don't know, I'll go to Vegas, I'll hang out, I'll see what happens. But it's not going to work. You're going to have a very solid plan. How many days are you going to go? If you're meeting up anybody, if you know anybody, it has to be something that if you were to tell your uncle or a friend, this is my plan, they would be like, okay, that sounds pretty reasonable. So if that there's a bar, that reasonable test where the consular officer is going to say, okay, I believe your story. I feel like this aligns with your profile. I feel like I believe what you're going to be doing in the United States. So, short answer, yes, your dad can sponsor you. Long answer, be prepared.
Okay, Irfan, that answers your question. I hope you're happy now. So after
Mhm.
Irfan, can we please take up another question because I see a lot of question also from you posted on Hugh Detty Visa and also on immigration and job stock show social media platforms. So let's quickly take another. Bhavani, okay. Bhavani says, can I extend my stay in the US on a B1/B2, a B1B2 visa? What do you have to say?
So, you can file an extension with USCIS. It can be for something as simple as you want to attend a family function. However, you need to be very careful when you extend your stay on a B1, B2 visa because the next time you go for a B1, B2 visa, if you have those long stays past 6 months, or if the extension is denied and maybe you're overstaying by a couple days because you didn't get in that extension on time, USCIS recommends that you apply for that extension 45 days prior to when you are supposed to be leaving the country. Unless it's for a major medical reason, I would think twice about extending your B1, B2 stay, because the next time you go to the consular officer, they are going to be very suspect of what you were doing, especially if your initial visa, you told them you were going for tourism for a couple weeks. Now you're extending your stay. Those records do stay. So think of a B1, B2 extension more so for emergency reasons, because unless it's an emergency, unless it's a medical emergency, it might get denied. And then you've stayed for a long time and then you have a extension denial on your record. So just be careful. Short answer is you can. Long answer is make sure you understand what an extension is really intended for and be careful.
Mhm.
I would advise against using an extension unless it's for emergencies.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering the question, Yvette and Bhavani. Thank you so much for posting it. And now let's take up another question. And the next question that we have is from Peter Khan,
Hmm.
such a unique name. So, hi, Peter. Hope you're doing well. So, Peter wants to know I have applied for a J1 visa before and was denied. So, I have applied again, but this time for an H1B. And my daughter is accompanying me QN, do I, okay, question, I suppose. Do I stand a chance with my daughter to be granted visa? What do you have to say?
Peter, I'm assuming that if you're an H1B, your daughter is going to go on an H4 because that would be the only scenario that would make a ton of sense unless you're going for an H1B and you want your daughter to go with you temporarily. I'm not sure. But either way, of course you stand a chance because an H1B is nothing like a J1 visa. A J1 visa can be 214B. 214B means that you can be rejected for any reason based on the consular officer doesn't think that you meet the threshold for overcoming immigrant intent. The H-1B, in order for it to no longer exist, has to be revoked. So there has to be a basis for that revocation. So unless something is going on with the petitioner, you as the beneficiary, and it goes through the revocation process, it's not as easy as the consular officer saying, I don't feel like this person is, you know, is not I don't feel like this person is it's not as easy as a B visa or a J1 just to dismiss that person. There has to be a reason why that H1B is revoked. So it's a completely different category. I hope that answers your question.
Well, but Yvette, I want to know maybe the daughter may be aged out for H4?
So I don't know how old his daughter is. So if she's going for the H4, then all he has to do is get his H1B visa and then she gets the H4 based on that credible relationship. If she's going to visit just on a B visa, then that's going to be a totally different set of questions and that's going to be a completely different interview for her. So it
Okay. But then what is the age limit for H4?
the age limit for an H4, I'm going to have to double check on the upper threshold for an H4. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, sure, no problem. Well, thank you so much, Peter, for your question. I hope you've got your answer. If you have a follow-up question, you're more than welcome to post it, and we'll be glad to help you. And now let's take next question. The next question that we have is from this lovely viewer who's watching us live on YouTube right now, Letty. And Letty wants to know, do visa officer know if my brother stay in the USA? He is came okay he okay, I'm not sure if the grammar is correct, but we'll try to understand it. He came with B2 visa, got married there, and became legal. Do you think I need to mention him on DS 160? Do visa officer know if my brother is there if I don't mention it? What do you have to say?
It's a really complicated question because it has so many different pathways that
Mm,
it can go.
yeah.
So I think it's a little bit too complicated for this forum to answer this question. Um,
Mhm.
so let
Or
yeah.
else
Hmm.
like you want what you can do is if you want to know, because I'm sure Yvette will need more details to answer this question, right? So more specific details. So if you can directly contact her there, you can see it on the screen. We have her contact information. You can give her a call at +1 630 303 6165. You can email her at yb@udativisa.com, and you can visit her website udativisa.com. And yes, like I said, we would need more specific details, so you can directly get in touch with her through these contact details. Now let's take up another question, because I am getting too many questions from the viewers.
Sure.
But still, I'll have to put these question on hold, and I have to come back to my question. So okay, so my team, I am trying to put hold on viewer question, but my team doesn't. So the question that I have is from Amit Kakkar, who's watching us on Facebook. And Amit wants to know, Yvette, what is the answer for B2 visa if officer asks for why you want to go USA for tourism with family, because you are not, I think he wants to say because you have not visited other countries, or
Right.
because you are not to visit to other countries.
It has to be a personal answer as to why you want to go for tourism in the United States. And that's why I mentioned earlier that some people hide the fact that they have a sibling or family members in the United States, but then it would make more sense for the consular officer to understand your reason for travel. So there isn't a one magic word answer that's going to get you a B1, B2 visa. The officer is truly curious why you want to go for tourism, and they're going to look at your salary and they're going to say, why are you spending $10,000 to go to the United States just to go visit New York? And you're going to have to discuss that with the consular officer and convince them that that this is the reason why you want to go, and why it makes sense. That's why the interview is challenging, and they want to know if you're a genuine tourist traveler. So I know maybe not the answer you were looking for.
But I hope, I'm sure it helps. So thank you so much, Amit,
Sure.
for posting your question. Um, well, and thank you so much, Yvette, for answering it. I hope you have got the answer. But now let's quickly move on to our next question. So the next question that we have is from, can we please have it on screen? Because we are getting too many questions that my team is also confused whose question to pick, whether to pick from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So I I think they too are working really hard. So okay, so here is another from Letty. Letty wants to know, do visa officer know if my brother stay okay?
Okay.
I think we have already taken that, and we have asked Letty to directly contact to Yvette, and let's take next question. So the next question that we have is from Hasham Asif. So Hasham wants to know why visa officers are not looking at supporting documents at all, and is it like if they want any document to check, they hand it you 221G?
First of all, you would be lucky if the consular officer handed you a 222G, a 221G, because that means they're going to take the time to review any documents at a later time. They don't have a lot of time at the window. Some consular officers do look at supporting documents, but it depends on the type of supporting documents. For example, if you are a mom and dad going to visit their H-1B son in California, and you have a copy of the H-1B that your son is on, that's something that I would look at as a consular officer. So it really depends. If you have a letter from your tax accountant that sums up all of your assets, and I'm talking about finances, and you say, I have a letter from my accountant, I might look at that. If you come to me and you say, I have a stack of papers this big that shows my finances, I'm not going to look at that. If you are an H-1B and you're going to the United States and you have your H4 wife and you have a photo album that shows that you're married, I would look at that. So it depends on the type of supporting document. That's one thing. The other thing is the reason why they don't take the time to always look at supporting documents, or they don't look at supporting documents sometimes, is because there's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of fraud in specific countries. There's a lot of fraud in India, a lot of doctored documents. I know you guys in
Mhm.
India know that. I've lived in India for 5 years.
Mhm.
I've seen how notaries are done. So, as an officer, I don't trust notaries that much. I've seen a lot of forged documents. And there's other countries as well in Africa where fraud is a huge problem. So the consular officer says, you know what? I'm not going to look at these documents. You're going to have to convince me because they can't trust
Mm.
documents. So that's another reason.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Hasham, thank you so much for posting, commenting on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for,
Mhm.
watching this live discussion. And I hope you have got your answer. Now let's quickly take another question. Um, that the next question that we have is from this lovely viewer called Revati, and Revati has posted this question on YouTube, and she wants to know: I have a petition on EB3, and it is a documentarily qualified. I had prior B1 B2 visa too. Due to retrogression, I won't be able to get EB3 visa soon. Okay, so do we have a follow up here?
She might be asking if she can get another B1, B2 again. And
Yeah.
with a pending EB3 or any green card petition. And the answer for everyone here, if you have a pending green card petition or an EB, is that it really depends. It depends why you're going to the US. Okay, so if you have a son who's on an F1 visa and you want to go to the US and go hang out with him, fine. If you don't know anybody in the United States, then they might be like, okay, we have agreed. We, why are you going? So they'll try to link it back to whatever the green card status. So what they'll try to understand what petition is pending for you and if your activities on a B1, B2 visa are really what you intend on doing in the United States. So it's just more information for the consular officer to consider. They'll look at that information and then try to determine whether your intended B1, B2 activities are something that they believe are just B1, B2 activities, or if they think that you have other intentions based on what they can see in the system. So it depends.
Okay, so there we also have a follow up. She wants to know, okay, can she still go as she has an I-140 immigrant petition as its immigrant intent. So can she?
She can. Just because you have an immigrant petition doesn't mean you can't convince the consular officer that you just want to go on a B1, B2. For example, if you have an F4, a sibling, a a brother and sister who petition for you. It takes years for an F4 to clear. Meanwhile, you're in India and you want to go visit your brother or sister in the United States. They filed an F4 for you. It's going to take years for that F4 to come through. Now you go to the visa window with your family. You can still convince the consular officer that, yeah, I have an I-140 petition. If that comes through in 15, 20 years,
Mhm.
which is the wait time in India, the priority dates they take a long time. And so you can still convince the consular officer that you want to just go visit the United States. It's just going to have more questions around it, but that doesn't mean that it
Mhm.
precludes you from trying to get a B1, B2 visa or that you can't get one just because you have a pending immigration petition. Mm.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you so much for posting your question. I hope you have got your answer, and thank you so much for such a detailed answer, Yvette. It means a lot, and I'm sure the viewers are really enjoying this session. So let's quickly take another question because then we'll be going on a break. But before we go on a break, the question is from Glenn. So Glenn wants says Yvette and Nipasa. So thank you so much, Glenn, for calling me Nipasa, but my name is Rajni. But thank you for calling me Nipasa. I hope I'm as beautiful as Nipasa. So um, Glenn wants to know: do I need to mention if my sister, if she is in the US on DS 160, and do visa officer know if I just recently bought a car or a house? What do you have to say?
You should be mentioning on your DS 160 if you have a sibling in the US. That is something that you should be mentioning if you're wanting to fill out the DS 160 in a truthful way. And in general, omitting that information could have unintended consequences. You can get nervous at the visa window because you're withholding information. Like I mentioned a couple times earlier, you may not be able to convince the consular officer, why are you going to the US? But if you had a sister, maybe you could even be more convincing. It really depends on each individual case how you're presenting a family member in the United States. Now, if you have a distant family member that you don't really want to talk, that you don't really talk to, or you talk to over Facebook, and you don't want to mention that on the DS 160, that's a different conversation altogether. So it really depends on the individual case how each B1 B2 visa is approached and how the interview is approached. So when we're talking, please keep that in mind. These are general statements, but each individual is so nuanced. And when the consular officer adjudicates you, they look for small things that I can't possibly cover for each individual person. But that's why I have visa interview preparation if you want it, so that we can do the individual thing. So that is my answer. And does the consular officer know if you recently bought a car or a house? No, they don't know that information. And they don't necessarily know if you have a sister in the US, but they might. It's a maybe. It depends on a lot of factors, on
Right.
how she was adjudicated, on linkages on the back end for them. So if for anybody wondering, do they know if I have a sibling in the United States? It's a maybe. It depends. It depends on some various factors. Okay.
Well, that's insightful, Yvette. Thank you so much. And now let's take a short break. But before we go into the break, I would like to tell you that I hope everyone so far the session is informative, helpful, and also entertaining at the same time to you. I hope, I'm sure Yvette can't, but I hope I'm not boring you. So if you want to reach out to Yvette Bansal, you can contact her on her contact number, which is +1 630 303 6165, and her email is yb@udetiVisa.com. Y as in yellow and B as in blue. And you can visit her website, which is udetivisa.com. And if you're looking for a project placement or visa sponsorship, you can reach out to me on my contact number, which is +1 732 707 9151. My email is rajni@highrightypeople.com. You could also visit our website, which is www.highrightypeople.com. Remember, we sponsor H1B visas, and we also sponsor other work visas based on job availability and regulations. Now, let's quickly take a short break and quickly also come back because we have a lot of viewer waiting for their turn. So let's go for a short break and come back quickly.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833 412 8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. We are back with a live discussion on unlocking success through the B2 visa process. Before we proceed, I want to remind our viewers that you can post your questions on the social media platform YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. and the handle is Immigration Talk Show, and we'll address them during the show. And Yvette, welcome back. We have some questions coming in from our viewers, so let's quickly take a look and let's take another viewer question. So this question that we have is from, can we please have it on screen? Okay. Hasham is back with his question, and he has commented this on LinkedIn. And he wants to know, my uncle got refused 4 times for B1, B2 visa as he traveled to Afghanistan from India for religious visit, but he is not able to represent himself properly at the interview, but he has the invitation which mentioned everything about his visit to USA as his son is. Can we have the next part, please? Okay, so the question is cut off. Um, let me
I'm gonna
see. Okay,
I'm gonna assume that his son is
yeah,
like
yeah,
a U.S. citizen or something, you know. So I'm not.
yeah, I have it here. Let me read out.
Mhm.
Let me read it out to you. Okay. He said. Okay, let me take it from
I see
the
it
top.
as well.
My uncle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, my uncle got refused 4 times for B1, B2 visa as he traveled to Afghanistan from India for religious visit, but he is not able to represent himself properly at the interview. But he has the invitation which mentioned everything about his visit to USA as his son is on F1 and want to attend his convocation, but officer is not giving him chance to present the document. I will be glad if you can tell how to resolve this. Thank you. What do you have to say, Yvette?
Four refusals is a lot, and at this point in time, I'm assuming that his son's graduation has passed because even getting a B1, B2 visa takes years now. I mean, unless you're paying for an appointment, which has its own things. So without a proper reason for travel, like his graduation, now what is his purpose of travel? So sometimes this happens, and say his F1 son goes for OPT and gets on an H1B, or is just on OPT and he's earning, then maybe if he's getting refused due to financial reasons, for example, once his son is on OPT or an H1B, maybe that can be overcome. There could be many reasons why his visa is getting refused. But regardless, if he wants to go back to the United States, hopefully his son is on OPT and there's another really good reason for him wanting to go back. But with four refusals, it's going to be very difficult to overcome. So if he wants to reach out and do a visa prep session, I mean, for people who have been refused four
Of course.
times, it
Yeah.
may be a necessity. That's one thing. The second thing is you can also go once he's earning money in the United States on OPT or an H-1B, and that could push the consular officer as circumstances have changed, especially if enough time has passed. But that's my very general advice to that question.
Okay. All right. So thank you for the answer, Yvette. And Hasham, thank you so much for commenting again on LinkedIn and watching us live. And if you have another follow up, you are more than welcome to post it. But now let's quickly take up another viewer question. Okay. Here we have a follow up from Hasham. He says his graduation is in May, and he has slot already for April for interview.
Yeah, so you can book an appointment on my website to get him prepped because but even with a preparation session, four refusals leading up to a graduation with no change in circumstances for his son, it's going to be an uphill battle because once you apply four times, it starts to look like desperation. And so he may have a really good reason, like his son's graduation is a really good reason. If it means that much to him, book an appointment with me, make sure that he's prepped. But going in there again for the fifth time without any prepping is going to be difficult. Otherwise, I would say wait for a change of circumstance. Uh, I mean, he's already paid the visa fee and everything. I guess he can go. But the more refusals you have, the the harder it's going to be in the future, even if the circumstances change. So
So, Hasham, if you have an expert like Yvette, you do what she asks you to do. So, do connect with her, do contact her. There we have her contact number, her telephone number, which is +1 630 303 6165. Her email is yb@udetivisa.com, and her website is udetivisa.com. So, just connect with her directly, and she will be glad to help you. And now let's quickly take next question. So the next question that we have is from this lovely viewers watching us on YouTube, Clara. I hope I'm taking the name right. And okay, my team says yes, Rajni, you're taking it right. Quickly read the question. So the question that we have is: do having previous J1 visa will help my B1 B2 application while I'm still a college student, or do I need to have work experience in my home country, Malaysia, first? Thanks, Yvette, for helping us.
It depends. A J1 visa can be for something like scientific research or a summer at a hotel in Louisiana as an exchange, right? It could be two very different things. And based on what that J1 visa is and why you're going on a B1, B2 visa, it could be helpful for you, but then that's not
Mhm.
always necessarily the case. Generally, any visa that you hold to the United States, if you've used it well, could be a good thing, but it's not necessarily always the case. Like, for example, if you were in hospitality on a J1 visa, you don't have any work
Mhm.
experience in your home country, you want to go back on a B1, B2 visa, the consular officer may think, okay, they don't have any work experience. They worked in hospitality in the United States. It's really easy to get a job without any documentation in the US in hospitality. This person may want to go on a B1, B2 visa just to go ahead and find another hospitality job, but this time under the table. That could be the mentality, at which point the J1 may not really help you. Or if it was a research based B1, B2, J1 visa, and you have family in the United States that are like on H1Bs and you're going there for that reason, that's a totally different reason. So, really depends. Really depends. Mhm.
Great. Okay. Okay. But then, thank you so much for answering, Yvette. We still have a follow up from Clara. So if we can please have it on screen. She says, is it important to visit country far away like Japan, Norway, Russia, or Hong Kong? Because in Thailand, with no prior travel to country that far away, they get declined.
So I'll just explain the concept of prior travel. Essentially, the consular officer looks at prior travel as a couple things. One, that you have the financial means to travel to another country. So if you have the financial means to travel to Norway, Japan, and Russia, that means that you have the financial means to travel to the United States. With so little information that the consular officer has about you, they literally just have a DS-160 and the person in front of them. Having a travel
Mhm.
place like Japan or Norway is a great clue for the consular officer that tells them your financial resources. And that's why people pick up that there is some correlation between faraway places and approval and visa approval. So that's the mentality. And the second thing is if you've traveled faraway places from your home country and then you say, I want to go for tourism, there's a pattern. So
Mhm.
that's why it's another thing. But it's not
Mhm.
everything. You still have to have a legitimate reason for wanting to go to the US on a B1, B2. You still have to ace that visa interview and convince the consular officer. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, all right. So I hope that answers your question, Flora, and thank you so much for watching us live. And don't forget to subscribe to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show and also to Udeti Visa. And and thank you so much again for posting the question. Now let's quickly take next viewer question because we have a lot of questions still coming in. So the next that we have is from okay, experience. As a US citizen, I sponsor a 65-year-old man and his son-in-law who is 30 years old for a visit. They applied together and got approved. Can you explain how this was possible?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think was the pro what do you think is the problem in that approval. So there's many ways a man and his son-in-law can get approval depending on the reason of travel. So I guess I would just say, why did you think that was so unusual? Was there something unusual in their profile that made you surprised that they got the visa?
Okay. So I think, okay, it's all right. So I think you would need, you're saying you would need more details
I'm asking why
here?
she's so surprised because people get visas all the time, so I'm not sure what is particularly surprising about this. The fact that maybe they weren't traveling as a bigger family. I'm not quite sure. It's not too unusual for me to hear of an older man and his son-in-law traveling together to the United States. That's all the information that I have. So if you have a for like if you have any further questions, please let us know. But I don't know where to go from this.
Hmm. I think it's just an information gathering question, like, like a case study just to help people.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so
So,
I would say if there's a US citizen and a 65-year-old man, you guys love strategy and speculation here, very heady, all of it, you know? Because it's like a little bit of a game. Okay, so if a US citizen sponsored a 65-year-old man and his son-in-law who wanted to come for a visit, all right, so you're the US citizen, are you a female? Is this 65-year-old man like your boyfriend? Does he have a son-in-law? Did he
okay.
just want to come visit his girlfriend in the US? Did he say that you were his girlfriend? What if they always travel together? I mean, it is a little unusual that he's just traveling with his son-in-law. I mean, my question is where is his son and where is the daughter? Where is the 65-year-old man's daughter? See, I'm not even being helpful. So I would have some
I think we need
questions.
to come up with more details
Yeah.
to this question.
Yeah.
I think we need to come up with more
Yeah.
details. So let's do one thing. Let's just ignore this question for now and
Yeah.
like
It's a fun
jump into the
question.
viewer question.
Hmm.
We can do these case
It's a
studies
riddle,
maybe
really.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll be specific with the details. So then maybe that's how you can, then you can help us. But right now, let's come back to our viewer who are waiting for their turn.
Hmm.
So can we have next viewer question on screen, please? Okay, so the question is posted on YouTube, is from Neela, and Neela wants to know, what is the primary factor that a consular officer considers when determining whether to approve or deny B2 visa application, and what is the significance of the strong ties concept in this context? What do you have to say?
So everyone is suspected as guilty until proven innocent. So everyone is assumed to be an intending immigrant unless you convince the consular officer otherwise. So that's the high bar, right? And so
Mhm.
you go there and you prove to that person, I am not an intending immigrant. And the way that you do that is by proving your strong ties. So I have a lot to lose. I'm a student who just graduated with mechanical engineering and I want to go on tourist travel to the United States. So having that degree is one factor that could be considered a strong tie. So education. I'm a businessman and I have two properties. And so having assets, immovable assets within your country is strong ties. I'm a woman visiting my sister, but I have a son and husband who can't travel due to school and work. So I have family in my home country. So that becomes a strong tie. So basically, anything that grounds you in your home country, anything that the consular officer can determine you won't be able to lose, like that it's unlikely you would risk losing what you have. So if you are maybe somebody who doesn't have any education in your home country and you're a single male, and you're able-bodied and there's an employment crisis in your home country, or maybe you haven't had a lot of work in your history, so good work is a tie, and you go to the consular officer is going to say this person doesn't have that much to lose. in the United States, he can get employment and maybe make $10 an hour and send remittances back to his family. So this is the game that the consular officer plays sometimes. So the more you have to lose through the parameters that I just mentioned, the more ties you have to your home country. And it's a very simplified way of putting it.
Mute. Okay. All right. So thank you so much again, Yvette, for explaining the question in so much detail. Thank you so much. And Neela, thank you so much for posting the question on YouTube and watching us live. And now I think that's it. I don't think we can take any more questions. Just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. We still have a lot of time. We will be taking, I was just preparing you for April Fool because we have soon April coming up. So I was just preparing you for April Fool. We are definitely going to take all your questions. But right now, let's go for a short break and quickly come back. And then, well, if you're thirsty, I think I'm a little bit thirsty, so I would like to, drink water. So let's quickly take a short break and come back quickly. Everyone, just stay tuned with Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, and also the ones watching us on Udeti Visa. Please stay tuned on Udeti Visa.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees, global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833-412-8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I am Rajni Bharara, and today we are covering the topic Unlocking Success, Mastering the B2 Visa Process with none other than Yvette Bansal. So, Yvette, welcome back.
Thanks, Rajni.
So now, without any further ado, let's take this question that we have from Huron, posted on YouTube, and wants to know, I filed out a DS 160 saying my dad is in the US. Do I have to say? I think, have we? I think we've already taken this, no? I filled out a DS 160 saying my dad is in the US. Do I have to say it in my interview? Okay. Do I have to say it in my interview if I'm asked what is the purpose of my visit to the US?
Yes. So you already mentioned your dad in the DS 160. It's going to be very weird for you to mention him in the DS 160 and then not mention him as your purpose of travel. So I want everyone to think really logically when it comes to the visa interview. When in doubt, just use some common sense. If I were the ask yourself, if I was the visa officer and somebody was telling me this story, what would I think? So have that common sense test when you're completely lost. That's what I will give you as a guide in light. So yeah.
Okay. Well, you said use the common sense. Well, common sense is not that common,
Okay.
but but if our lovely audiences are watching this live session or immigration and jobs talk show or UDT visa, they are definitely going to get a lot of common sense. So now let's take this question from Sheriff Aslan, and Aslan wants to know, do I need to come across as someone confident and alpha, okay, or more down to earth? Because this is an interesting question. Down to earth, because sometimes older visa officer do not like someone who is confident and self-assured, do not like someone who's what do you have to say? And do speaking English in B1 B2 visa helping to get them, or do you need to speak in the local languages?
Okay.
That's an interesting
Okay,
question,
that's
and
an
what do you have to
okay,
say?
that is okay. The second question, so
Uh-huh.
Dan, who started Immigration Talk Show, he's like, "Oh wait, give anecdotes of it, tell stories." And I was like, "I don't want to give a story and then the story is this pillar that people look at as an example when it's just one story." Okay, like for example, I I helped UDJ's brother. I don't know if you guys watch the influencer UDJ. You can go check out his YouTube channel. He does a lot on F1 visas. So he's like, Yvette, can you prep my brother for a visa interview? I said, sure, UD, love to do you a favor. And I helped prep him. And he was 29 years old, single, and he did not make much, and he was a driver, but he did have a little bit of a travel company. He had like another car, so he was a driver by profession. And I prepped him as much as possible, and he spoke really good English. Well, it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good English. And I was like, I don't know, UD, like his ties are not that strong. I'm going to prep him as best I can. And so when I prep people, I tell them to go with their strengths. So we reframe the story. I said, use your turnover instead of your annual income. Let's talk about your whole turnover. So I prepped him the best I could, and he ended up getting a language spot. And I'll say that he
Mm-hmm.
was also going with UD's parents, UD's mom and dad, and they were going as a family, which is very helpful. So if you're like a single male and you go with your mom and dad and you're going to go visit a US citizen in the US, it's much better than if he went by himself. That was a huge plus point. But still, sometimes officers, most of the time, will separate the mom and dad, they'll approve the parents and then disapprove the younger child with weaker ties. So that's kind of what I was expecting, but his visa was approved. And he
Yeah.
had his interview completely in Hindi. He had a language. He had a language interpreter as well. So in the past, I would say, yeah, try to do it in English, but sometimes doing it in your own language is not as important as what you're saying. So your level of preparation and what you're saying is more important than what language you're presenting in. And so the answer really is it depends. Maybe the consular officer thought, hey, maybe his English is not that strong, and that really shows me strong ties to his country. Maybe he showed that he had really strong English, he might think that maybe he'll stay in the US a little longer. Who knows? The consular officer can think a lot of different things, which is why I hesitate to tell stories. So, answer, it depends. You can take that story for what it is. In terms of what to wear, um,
Okay.
I always say, like, you don't want to try too hard. And so what I told UDJ's brother is, get a t-shirt that makes you look like you're well off and be cool, calm, and collected. So, and for him, I wanted him to present that he had like decent finances and he was pretty chilled out. So you definitely don't want to be too high energy. If you're a student, I tell them don't wear a suit jacket and be over prepared. So I always say look nice, professional, but not too professional, and kind of presenting like your whole world does not hang on getting this visa. So if that makes sense, it's a little bit of a vibe that's hard to describe, but it's something like the way you and I are interacting right now. So prepare your answers, speak concisely in a comfortable manner, and dress nicely, but not over the top.
Okay, I think we have a question from one of the viewer regarding the dressing also, but we will take it later. But before we take Asif's question, Hasham's question, I would like to know, so Aslam said, "Do I need to look more confident and alpha?" I'm not sure if alpha, the word alpha, is having the right connotation to it these days. But what do you have to say about that, Yvette?
I would say I'm not sure about the word alpha, but I think confidence is good. And
Yes.
I think confidence comes from the fact that you're not too scared to answer the question that's asked fully, but not too much. So concisely, but not one word answers. Kind of like a conversation. You know what to say, when to say it, and you're pretty relaxed about it. Confidence, that's good. I'm not sure about alpha. You definitely don't want to be too aggressive. And there was some applicants that would come really close to the window and that would make me just go like this. So I don't know what alpha means, but that was scary. Don't do that.
Okay. Right. So, thank you so much, Aslan. I hope you have got your answer. Now, let's quickly take up Asif's question. He has posted this on a LinkedIn, commented on LinkedIn, and the question was about, the dressing, like I said before. So he wants to know. I just want to. What I'm not sure what the word is. I just want to know whether your appearance at interview really matters. Example, wear light colors, wear formals or suits. Is it myth or a fact?
I mean, your appearance does matter. So look the best you can without trying too hard is the short answer there. Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So now I think we have a lot more questions. Okay, can we quickly take our next viewer question? And okay, this is from Anjali. Hi, Anjali, and she has posted on YouTube, and she wants to know. She has three follow-ups. Is what my team telling me. I have three consecutive B1 B2 visa refusals, with the most recent denial citing failure to demonstrate strong ties to my home country. 214B. Can we have the next part? My previous applications were rejected due to insufficient documentation and unclear travel plans. Okay. What are the chances of my fourth application being approved? And what additional evidence or information should I provide to overcome the previous reasons for denial? Yvette, please help.
Anytime you have that many denials, it's very difficult to overcome it. And in terms of additional evidence or information, I really couldn't help you in this forum because I would need a lot more information about your case. So um, it would be difficult for me to help. Yeah.
Okay, Anjali, I think if you want, you can directly contact Yvette. You can directly connect with her. We have the contact. We have her contact details right on the screen. Her telephone number +1 630 303 Her email is yb @udetivisa.com, and her website is udetivisa.com. Now, let's take our next question. The next question that we have is from. Can we please have the next question on screen, please? How does the US government balance security concerns with facilitating legitimate travel through the B1, B2 visa process? Yvette.
I think the answer is when in doubt, it's going to be 214B.
Okay.
So as we talked about earlier, you have to prove to the consular officer that you don't have immigrant intent. So the bar is high. You need to be explaining to the consular officer. So the way they balance security concerns is by having a high bar, by writing the law in a way where a consular officer has to be convinced without doubts that you are intending to use the B1, B2 wisely. It's not a really a fair system because it could be done in different ways. There can and maybe should be different ways to adjudicate besides this verbal conversation between you and another individual that only takes a minute. but because so much hinges on protecting US security and so little is provided to the consular officer, you see refusal rates that are 40% in some countries that are really, really high. So high refusal rates are a consequence of the consular officer trying to balance those security concerns while at the same time trying to let as many people go for legitimate travel as possible. There's no perfect answer, and we don't have a perfect system for this. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yvette, for answering the question. I'm not sure. I might not. Can you see me?
You're lagging a little bit.
I'm not sure why this is happening. Joined by a lot of viewers from different platforms. I'm not sure why. I'm really sorry about this. I hope it is better now. Is it better?
Not yet. It's a little bit lagging still.
All right, so let's because we have extended our time already. So now let's do one thing. Let's wrap up this session because unfortunately that's all the time we have for this discussion. And Yvette, I want to extend my heartfelt thank you for joining us and providing invaluable insights for mastering the B2 visa process. Your insights were truly, truly invaluable, and we are immensely grateful to you for your for coming and doing the show. I'm sure you must be really, really busy, but thank you so much for taking out time and coming and doing the show.
Thank you, Rajni. And if we do this again next week, we can stick to the B1, B2 topic because it seems like there's a ton of tourist visa questions. So if you guys want to tune in, we'll see our calendars and try to sync up the same time next week
Okay.
to try to cover more of those B2 questions, just because there was a ton and they were all really good questions and I want to answer more of them. So thank you so much,
Or maybe
Rajni.
we
You're an
can,
amazing host.
because the viewer really didn't want me to take up my questions. So let's not have my questions. Let's just
Mm-hmm.
make it ask me anything session, okay, on B1 and
Yeah.
B2. What do you have to say?
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to do that for them. Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you so much again, Yvette. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. So now let's wait for next week, and we will be okay. So before I wrap up the session, I would like to tell our lovely audiences that if you want to get in touch with Yvette, you can connect with her on her number, which is +1 630 303 6165. Her email is yb@udetivisa.com. Y as in yellow, B as in blue. So yb@udetivisa.com. Her website is udetivisa.com. And to our lovely, lovely audiences and amazing viewers, I want to express my deepest gratitude for your active participation and engagement. Your questions have been insightful and thought provoking, enriching our discussion in countless ways. So, thank you for being a integral part of our community and for your continued support. And as we wrap up, I encourage everyone to subscribe to our channel, Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, to stay updated on future episodes. Your support means the world to us. And we look forward to bringing you more enriching content in the days ahead. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, keep striving for success. And I'm Rajni Bharara. I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 833-412-8472 or mail us at support@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.